Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful Thursday afternoon special time. The Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms, so go ahead and subscribe there. Also part of Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can find me there on Sundays and Thursdays. If you guys have not already, please make sure to give a like to the stream. And if you have not already, you guys can subscribe to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com. This makes you aware of all times when I go live, upload clips, or write any articles. So you have that there. So thank you so very much for tuning in. Also, make sure to give this stream a like. That pushes me out into the algorithm. Thank you so very much to all of you for watching today, as well as in addition to and furthermore, I would just like to give a blanket hello to everybody that's watching in the comments right now. Good to see all of you joining in. And as per usual, when I typically have guests, I also, because, out of respect for their time, I would like to get to them immediately. So we have one of our guests is actually an activist and organizer with Real Orlando. We have Albizu joining with me today, and as well as one of the co-founders of Right Brain Studios, Kevin Ronka, as well. Good to see you both. Welcome back to the channel.
Thanks for having me.
Same. I'm really excited to be here.
All right. So you guys actually came together, which is which a lot of times people will say like an unholy alliance. I call this a holy alliance. A holy alliance to actually talk about Syrian films. If you guys can expound upon this and what your project is, just to give the audience a little bit of what you're about to do.
Do you want to go, or do you?
Go ahead.
Take it, bro.
Mm-hmm. So when we first met, he had sent me a DM, and I saw that it was an activist group, and we didn't decide what we were going to do though. And he set up a meeting, and then JBLs, I want to make my 40-hour no sleep. I was getting really busy. And I completely missed the meeting, which I never do. I mean, no call, no show, slept for like 20 hours. And even so, if it's me, if someone does that to us, we're just kind of like, you know what I mean? So I could totally see that perspective. So I kind of pleaded with him to give me another shot. And then we met, and it just right away just clicked. And then we thought about regions, every area has a story to tell. And their cinema is really, I think, one of the best ways. And we made a big list, and we got down and picked Syria.
Yeah. So when I hit up Kevin, we had done movie nights before, right? We had done one on Ukraine and got a lot of flack from the liberals. But
Interesting.
What we aim to do, right? Because a lot of people do movie night, and for good reason, because it's a great way to get people together. But our movie night, I wanted it to be different. Right. And I saw the right brain slogan was a safe space to be dangerous. And I had seen the event with Lady Izdahar and all the other kind of like really dope, gritty movies that they put out. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to hit them up. At the time, I was concerned with the resistance axis. Right. That's like fighting against Israel right now. So that's what I came to him with, right? And we just whittled it down to Syria when we met.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a real relevancy there between Syria and Palestine. I mean, the earliest Palestinian films about the Palestine struggle were actually made in Syria, which is interesting.
Yeah. I feel like right now there's like, we live in really exciting times, right? There's a lot of like on the ground energy against the establishment, calling for action against the actual genocide of Palestinians. But we as we look back at movements before, movements like Black Lives Matter and stuff, we understand that like those movements, that energy is at risk of being like co-opted, right? And taken up by the Democratic Party. We can already see like Joe Biden, and let me know if I'm like rambling. You could just cut me off. we could see Joe Biden doing like a humanitarian corridor or a humanitarian port in the Mediterranean. It's like, dude, no one asked for that, bro. So you could see them like try to give these concessions that we don't want. And we have that that runs the risk of curbing people's energy on the ground, right? So as real, what we want to promote is a consistent and concrete targeted effort against the establishment, right? We don't want to keep doing the same stuff, keep protesting all the time. And how we see it, right? There's a lot of people who on the left kind of misrepresent Israel. They say it's like for sure it is like a genocidal entity, but the way that they frame it is like as if it's like just a blight on American politics, right? As if like America's right in Ukraine, America's right in Taiwan, but they just messed up with Israel, right? And we say that that's not the case. That the U.S. imperialism actually is a dominant force, only interested in maintaining their imperialist monopoly on things like energy and things of that nature, right? So we have to understand imperialism, that nature of imperialism, right? And understand that that same entity is the same thing that targeted Iraq, right? I don't know how old like the audience is, but I remember Iraq for sure. They were demonizing Saddam. They were calling him like a crazy dictator, and they made it be like, oh, we as the police force of the world have to swoop in and save the Iraqi people from Saddam, right? In hindsight, we know that that's not true. They were just trying to stop Iraq from developing their own oil, right? Same thing with Gaddafi. He was like, oh, this terrible dictator, right? That we have to come in and save the Libyan people. In hindsight, after millions of people are dead, right? Now we know that that's not the case. He was making an African currency that threatened the monopoly of the U.S., right? So we see.
Can I jump in real quick just to go off what he was saying only, just to it. It's scary because I used to play this party game. I don't get invited to parties anymore because I'm always the guy yelling about whatever foreign conflicts. Nobody invites me anywhere anymore. But there was a game I could play when I was bored and dragged somewhere, and all you have to do is ask somebody like, you tell them, see if they can guess. You say, okay, it's a Middle Eastern country. It has nuclear weapons that could destroy the world. It has restrictive laws based around religion that are even more brutal than apartheid South Africa was. They've committed genocide of their people, of their neighbors, and they're bombing their other three neighbors constantly. And our government is terrified of them. Who is it? And, they say Iran. Like, no, dude, it's Israel. Yeah. Israel. You've been programmed. You think it's Iran. Everything they tell you Iran does, Israel is already done. Right? They're like our last white friend in the Middle East because everybody else we've either tried to overthrow or steal from. And the thing with with Israel and Palestine is Joe Biden is basically like selling someone a gun, showing them how to use it, and knowing exactly that they're going to go kill somebody because they've told them, and being like, all right, yeah, but don't take too many casualties, but here's the guns and here's the bullets. And I know you're on your way to go commit a massacre, but just promise me you're not going to kill that many people. I mean, it's mind-blowing. Our government are war criminals. They belong in prison. Anything in regards to the Syria event, right? So I got some messages that weren't so friendly. I mean, personally, I love it. If anyone's watching, I love that stuff. That like makes my day. So I felt great about it. But the person was, saying like, how could you do this screening for Assad? I mean, the thing that's crazy is everything you're saying about even the biggest war crime the U.S. could stage and blame on Assad is not even close to the stuff Joe Biden's done just in the last few years. Not just to his own people, but to the entire world. So, and most of these people that you hear say this stuff vote for Biden. They bellyache and yell and get dragged to the polls, but they're like, Trump, and they just give into it. So, like, in some ways, I think people have become actual opposition to a true movement. I think they're actually worse than just the bystander. You say, oh, I feel bad, they're brainwashed. Now it's like, no, you're actually in the way. You know, like you're not going to sort of get with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they like. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, doing a film about Syria and then attributing anything you say positive about Syria to Assad, it's like saying anything you attribute positively about the United States, you attribute it to Trump or Joe Biden.
Yeah, and I also would say I would put my whole bank account up that you can't find a good movie, anti-Assad movie in the world. I'm pretty well researched on film, and if there was an amazing anti-Assad movie funded by the CIA in Hollywood, which has never happened because they don't give a shit about quality, we would have heard something about this movie, this powerful anti-Assad movie. It doesn't exist. It's amazing too because they say, well, you can't make those kind of movies in Syria, which is true because we're working on a project and found out you can't mail cameras to Syria. They call them TV equipment. Fair enough, but we played a film from Yugoslavia and Bosnia where, you know, the filmmaker could have been killed and he actually was able to trick the government into giving him money. If you really want to make a movie against your government, which he did with his government's money, then he left the country. McDonald's threw some money in and the movie came out and they went back later. If you really want to make a movie about your country, you'll do it. You know what I mean? It's always been done, even in the most restrictive countries. They usually don't go back. They live in exile, but like there is no great anti-Assad movie. It doesn't exist. So you want us to play this shit? Well, send it to me then. Let's see this incredible. So the best work from Syria is the 70s, 80s, and 60s. And it was the party that Assad's a part of that funded most of them. And we will talk at the screening that it was a double-edged sword, but I'm not here to critique his politics as a leader. I'm just talking about the film aspect. Filmmakers from Syria have said it was a double-edged sword. There was no Syrian films really before that. It was all Egyptian films usually. They were funding everything. So like those were the first films from Syria. So, but a lot of those artists now say, yeah, but it was so restrictive censorship-wise that it took us 40 years to expand outward, but we're still glad it happened. So that's what I'm going to say. It's like, it's a complicated thing, you know, like, and that's what makes it interesting. If it was just this superhero comic book, everybody's good or bad, it would be boring and there'd be nothing to decipher. You just punch the air like you're watching CNN, like, yeah, Trump's bad. And punch the air. Nothing has happened. There's no dialectic. Nothing is, you know what I'm saying? So we want to make screens that are hard to chew on, you know, but I'm not here to talk about Assad as a leader. I'm talking about the films. Told from the story of the people. We're not talking about the leaders. That's the whole point of it. Is film is for the working class. Anyone can pick up a camera to an extent. So,
yeah. Absolutely. Albizu, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think the term like programming is 100% apt, right? Because like what I was saying, like how they like program you to like villainize these people. That's where they get like the almost like consent from the people to invade these countries. You get what I'm saying? So like what I want to do with these screenings is just like humanize these countries where the state demonizes this place. We want to bring humanity to it, because when you humanize something, it's hard to conceive of like, yeah, go ahead and bomb that place. I don't care. Assad's over there. So go ahead and bomb it. But to the point of like these people actually, yeah, we get, I've been getting some flack on my end too. They always call me like a Putin puppet or like an Assadist or something like that. And I have no, like ideological alignment with these governments. I just know that my government is targeting their people for their own aims. And it's not, I didn't get that from Russian propaganda. As a matter of fact, you can Google a man named Wesley Clark. Wesley Clark was the head of the American forces for NATO. And he said that 10 days after 9/11, that's like 20 years ago, he got a list of countries that they said that they're going to overthrow those governments. That list included Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Syria. You get what I'm saying? So when all this propaganda is thrown at us as American people, we have to, just given all our experience with Iraq and all that stuff, we have to take that with some sort of a critical narrative, bro. I'm not just going to believe everything they say about him. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that. What I want to do is have a conversation about how our government, because I feel like it's our responsibility, right, to expose the agenda of the elites in our government. People be like, oh, eat the rich, oh, billionaires should get the gulag, but then they turn around and then just fall in line with the billionaire agenda. You get what I'm saying? So we want to be concretely against imperialism, and we want to be concretely against our own ruling class. And the way to do that is by having these conversations, showing the people that there's a lot more nuance to be considered, and making these spaces where it's safe to be dangerous.
Wow. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I think this is also a wonderful idea, is because what better way to do it than through art, right? What better way than to influence the masses? I think if I'm reminded, there was an article that came out, I think it was in Rolling Stone, about how the FBI actually had a file on Aretha Franklin. And the crazy part is like, why in the world would you have a file on somebody like Aretha Franklin? Well, because she was also in the background helping a lot of those revolutionaries to raise money, raise awareness, right? And so she was using her art. You have many people who use their art to uplift, the rallying cry for us as working people in order to have a more fair and equitable system. And those artists are a lot of times shunned, or you don't hear from them as much because of the system doing its job. And so, but a lot of times, like for instance, did you guys remember, it might have been 2-3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, but the song by Childish Gambino called "This Is America"? Now,
Yep.
Whatever you may feel about Childish Gambino, that song in that music video had a major impact, especially those of us in the Black community. Basically taking a mirror and saying, this is you guys. And so for us, a lot of us, we were just like, yeah, that's us. And it made us think, and it made us go, this is something that we may have to change about ourselves. Or let's go back. Let's go back to the series Roots. How many of y'all watched that?
I've seen
right?
it. Yep.
That was artistic, but and with all due respect to the white guy here, but we Black people, we were mad at white people for that entire time, because we were just like, this is what actually happened, because it placed a mirror in front of us and said, this is who you are. And I think one of the best ways to do this is from an outsider perspective, to show the United States, the people of the United States, this is who you are. And this is one of the reasons why they also want to get rid of TikTok.
It's true.
Because here we have 1,000 little mirrors that are showing us, oh, this is what your country is funding. This is what your country is doing. Oh, the weapons are going that your country produces. This is where they're going. See that little brown boy that's hanging by his skin? That's what your country is funding. Do you approve of this? And a lot of us have went, no, because guess what? Now the government wants to get rid of these mirrors. And you guys putting this thing together, this is basically, oh, we're going to hold up another mirror. And this is one of the things I love. This is why I love Right Brain. This is why I love Real Orlando, because you guys are saying, let's team up together, let's organize, and let's use art in order to also push a revolutionary struggle.
I think that when we met, I realized we had a lot of very common goals. Like very quickly, you realize there's some people that want to be one giant umbrella that just tries to shove everybody underneath of it, and other people respect other people's are contributing to this, to some sort of a movement that's taking place, and everybody sort of has different roles to play, and they don't need to be under some new, we've been asked to join things and this and that. And I think that with him, he never asked. It was like, we're doing our thing, you're doing your thing, and like, let's come together. And we both agreed, like, and keep our autonomy. It's like, that was like one of the first meetings we've had with collectives where they're like speaking the same language of like, you have your community, what you're doing. We need to come together and do something that can, reach both and cross over, where it's like, yeah, like people want to sort of become one thing. And I think that's what was wrong with the Bernie thing, is like, it went from this thing where, people were connecting in a way, and it started to become this like, are you in, or they're shoving. It was just I think that you should let people have autonomous needs and come together for common goals. I think that's why Chris Small's stuff worked really well. The organizing is he was not trying to really put anybody in a box. He was sort of trying to just, you have your beliefs, let's come together on something that we can achieve together. And I think that then I looked into what they were doing. It was amazing. And I felt terrible for missing the meeting. But I think one thing him and I think are agree with, and I think it goes back to, even if you look, and I'm a little sleep deprived, so bear with me if I'm ranting, but there's this filmmaker, Kenneth Anger, who some say was like a Satanist, but he made these like 8 movies with no training that are like masterpieces. And no one knows how he even made them, right? But so he was sort of this gay Satanist guy that was a biker, and he said that the day the movie camera was made was like a wicked day for mankind. He believes it was like it's like a tool for evil, and he's not wrong about it. And we've seen it used for evil. We've seen how powerful it is, and if you look at, everything from James Bond making British intelligence seem sexy, these subtle things are incredibly powerful and have even numbed us to the violence of the CIA and seen them as these sort of heroic. I mean, that is powerful brainwashing material. And what I see when I watch films from Syrian stuff is they're using the same tool, but you see the duality. They're using it for good. They're, instead of sort of, they're sort of capturing life as it's happening, and they're trying to put something out into the world. And so I think you see these two dualities of how countries use it. I think also the thing I think is censorship is not necessarily a bad thing when it comes to igniting art. Big art movements have rebelled against censorship, just like we saw some parts of the left galvanize under certain leaders we all hated. Like, I think that, that's how I feel about it. I think that censorship has actually forced people to do things that are very interesting that they might not have done originally. And I think about a good example, if you look at Russia, is the last thing I'll say. Soviet Union made one horror movie in the 60s because Lenin, he didn't like horror, he didn't like not Lenin, I'm sorry.
Stalin,
yeah. He didn't like Stalin didn't like horror movies that much. He liked the folk was like the only thing he could make based on classic works by Gogol and Dostoevsky and these people, you know what I mean? So they like this movie called V, and then like 40 years of not much. And then the 80s when Gorbachev was in and censorship came in and the West came in, you had all these wacky horror movies that we played because it was interesting watching them try to do the West thing, which was just not built on anything. And that's why people still talk about V made under censorship, but nobody talks about some of those movies we played. That's what it's fun about. Like Dogs, there's just these kind of terrible, brutal, campy. They don't really have a lot, there's some philosophy there, but it's just like Western trash, right? So I don't think censorship yields bad work. It actually yields incredible work from what we've seen because it creates a friction. So that's what Syrian films offer.
Gotcha. You had something to add, Albizu?
I just wanted to appreciate what's being said, and I think I'm reminded of that quote by Malcolm X where he says the media is the white man's like most powerful tool or something like that, right? And he's 100% right. And like a tool, right, it reflects like who's holding it. And I know me and Kevin had this discussion about how art is kind of like real detached right now. Like there's like a lot of like corporate BS art, you know what I'm saying? Just up and down, like that whole corporate Memphis style is really prevalent among the left too. I don't know if you know that aesthetic, but it's like really ugly and like boring, and it just doesn't reflect the moment that we're at right now, and that's because of the class character that this media has. So on one hand, you have the ruling class and like they're hyper funded, like super CGI, like BS that really doesn't say anything. It's like more of like a commercial for the army. But then you have on the ground, like brilliant. You've seen these kids' TikToks, they're brilliant, bro. And in the hands of the people, this tool is very, very powerful. I remember being when I was like young and the BLM stuff started. I remember reading Fox News and like CNN and being like, oh, the cops did this. It was this kid is like a criminal, blah, 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 blah. But they couldn't lie to me, bro. They couldn't lie to me. Why? Because I had seen the live streams from people who were right there. We already knew what happened. So they knew that was like after, and like Obama started putting like a whole bunch of censorship on these kind of social media outlets. But it's because media is such a powerful weapon in the tools of the people,
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, I would like to share, in fact, you know what? I'm going to share the preview that you guys put out last week first. I want to share that because that is kind of different from the trailer that you sent me so far. But I want to share this because I think this is also really good too. And I really just want to whet the appetites of the audience as well. So let me get to it here. Let me see. I had it. But yeah, this is awesome because the thing is, like, right now, what's going on right now in Palestine, what's going on in Sudan, Congo, Haiti, all these different areas, really, art can really dictate and share and show people, our perspective. Because one thing that trips me out a lot is that a lot of times what they'll do is that they will share revolutionary aspects or revolutionary ideas through film, but then they'll make it seem like, oh, well, we're the happy medium. We're the in between. Our neoliberalism and our neocolonialism is the happy medium, so that we can have all the things that we enjoy as Westerners, but at the same time, we don't have to deal with those evil Nazis and those evil communists, putting us both basically in the same lane, which is crazy in itself, because tell me you don't read history without telling me you don't read history. And so it just shows where it's just like, think about Star Wars, right? That's really a revolution happening before our eyes. And then we cheer on the rebels. But then once it happens in real life, then we're demonized. We're told, oh, no. You can't be Luke Skywalker in real life. You can be Luke, Han, Chewie, Leia. You can be that in fantasy. But if you do that in real life, oh, no. That's when the alphabet bureaucracies start coming after you, because then, oh, you want to be a Luke Skywalker, huh? We heard you had a lightsaber. Oh, we're gonna have to detain you for a while.
Please. There's so many examples of that, like the Pan-Africanist politic of Killmonger from Black Panther.
Ooh.
Or even one of my favorites. Anyone who knows me, I'm always talking about this character. But like the third Batman movie, like Bane, he put all the cops underground. He had a nuclear deterrent, right?
Yeah.
Highly organized.
Yeah.
They always they villainize people with a kind of politic they don't want to see.
Oh, so look, and I know, Kevin, you're more for the indie movies, the ones that aren't as big and popular. But one of the things that, and they kind of, I hate that they made Bane to be this. They tried to make him into some leftist evil villain. But one of the things that also shows, I keep going back to his speech when he was in front of Blackgate Prison, and he was like, we're going to take the hands from the powerful and give it back to the people. And it was kind of fanciful in how, they released all these people from prison, and then they were pulling all these rich people out of the prisons, and then everybody was just living this unorganized, chaotic lifestyle, in place of where the rich were. And it's like, if something like that were to really happen, it would not happen that way. That's what the oligarchs think would happen. That's what they think would happen, or that's what they want us to think that would happen. What would really happen is we all would actually organize a society and actually make things even more just than what they are right now. But that's what they don't want. And so, of course, oh my God, Christopher Nolan had to go, the direction of the way the oligarchs actually want him to go. But in reality, who is the fascist? Was it Bane or was it Batman? If you got a billionaire that's going on, on a nightly to, beat people to a pulp, in a city where he can actually use his money to actually give for everybody. Don't let me get on my soapbox.
Yeah, I love that movie. I could talk about it all day.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Wait,
I don't
Kevin,
really.
muted.
I'm sorry. What's that?
Kevin is muted. He's talking.
I'm muted. That's why I'm like, oh man, I don't think they can hear me. I just want to say one thing, and I'll try to be quick about it. I'm a big fan of Hegel. Like I like Marx and everything, and I don't read that stuff all the time, but I got really into Hegel during COVID because I heard he influenced Marx and was one of the German idealists that was like kind of the last great one before it moved less metaphysical and became very economical. But either way, I just found it like it connected with it because it was more spiritual. I felt like, and but it applied a lot to Marx because he really combined economic with Hegel. You know what I mean? But the thing that I thought was really interesting is his idea that sort of I'm just going to truncate it, but it's sort of everything is sort of the best way to describe it is like everything can be scaled up or down. You know what I mean? He believed that we are humans, and we started as babies and slowly grew to mature as we learned and became more self-aware of the world around us. Right? That's how we become more conscious. But he also thinks that you could shrink it down to a human, or you could take it to a state, or you could take it to a country, or you could take it to all of humanity. And the apes would be us as babies because they were unaware of their surroundings. And as civilization has gone on all these years, we've become more self-aware, and we've watched certain people fail and learn from it and continue on. And the more we become perceptive of our world and our reality and what's around us, the more we sort of mature. And I think that we're at a precipice right now in history is just what I wanted to say. I think that we've been told a bedtime story by it used to be the newspaper and things before movies existed, but movies is so dangerous because you have to read a book. Your parent has to read the story. But these you could just it's immediate. It's like an injection right from your screen at any time. And this is they're telling us a fairy tale. They've told it to us our whole lives. And a lot of us have woken up from it because the fairy tale stops making sense. You're starting to fall asleep, and then you're like, wait, but if we're the good guy, what about this? No, but. And I think that's what Hollywood does with propaganda. They give you just enough to put you to sleep. The oligarchs aren't dumb. Raytheon's not dumb, or they wouldn't be where they are. They're evil geniuses. They're like, well, if we just make it too obvious, they're going to wake up. You're telling a bedtime story. Your dad just threw some wrench in it. You're going to wake up. And be like, fuck, I'm a part of one of the worst empires in the world. How can I sleep? It's like, no, that's bad, but we did this. And go buy the book that we're going to put out in conjunction with it. Like they're going to put a Malcolm X reboot out, I'm sure, and put 5 books out through Barnes & Noble, funded by BlackRock. And, use that money to make stuff with the CIA, who like you had them, helped off a lot of these kind of people. So I think that it's sad when you meet someone who's like almost awake, and then they're like, "But free Hong Kong," they're like, "Fuck Israel," then this, and you're like, "Yeah." You meet him at a party, you're like, "Yeah, this guy's got it." He's like, "But Trump was the lesser evil, and free Hong Kong." You're like, "Fuck, dude, you were so close." Like you're almost awake, and you're just like, and just divert back to that same mentality. Because I think if you've been told the story for 40 years, most people I meet, they know it's wrong. I can't believe we've evolved this far and you can't tell what's happening is wrong sometimes. I think that it's easier to just listen to the story and go back to sleep. I think that's sad, and it's dangerous. We've allowed so much genocide, murder, and brutality to happen while we were watching fucking dance videos of Saturday Night Live. You are in murder and genocide. You have one of the most powerful tools that can look anything up in 1 second. At this point, you are just literally like the families in Germany that watched this extermination happen. We're like, turn the music up, and they're like, did you hear something? No, let's just, you know what I mean? Like we know as humans. And I just can't believe we've come this far and seen this much progress to, I don't know, just incinerate and murder everybody that doesn't give us their resources. I just can't believe sit in labs and get paid billions of dollars to do all the mathematics to eviscerate people's flesh with nuclear power. Like I can't believe that apes can't do that shit. I can't believe this is what we were put here to do. But these people have taken control of power systems, and Hollywood and film is one of the most powerful. And that's why I think with what him and I are doing, it's like, we got to get them there because this shit's getting injected right in their eyeballs. We got to wake them up, Yep.
Absolutely. Let me share this right now, because speaking of which, I appreciated this trailer that you guys put out last week. So this is going to be one of the trailers that we're going to get into. And then after this, then we'll get into the trailer the most recent one after we discuss this just a little bit.
شنو القصة؟ مات هذا بتاع فريز. في كمان بنت استشهدت وطفل كتفه راح. ايش لا ما في جثث كثيرة.
لحد هاي الأيام من يوم إن صار العمل الفدائي وهو يشتغل فدائي.
أي مهمة كانت ولو كانت حتى الموت يعني.
ما كان عندنا فكرة بدها تصير ثورة وإشي، بس هو عقليته وهو ولد كان عم يشتغلوا. ما بعد رحمة من الله إجته هيك إنه في بدها تصير ثورة يحرروا بلادهم إشي، واستشهد الله يرحمه.
So that is what's coming up next week. That just seeing that initially, I was just like, you know what? We all talk about the revolutions that happen, like the Bolshevik Revolution. A lot of us talk about the Cuban Revolution. We may talk about the revolution that happened in China or in Vietnam. But a lot of times we don't really talk about revolutions that may happen in Western Asia, particularly what people like to call the Middle East. We don't talk about those a lot. A lot of us, we know about the coup that happened in Iran under Mohammad Mossadegh, that the United States basically removed Mohammad Mossadegh and put in the Shah so that they can have easy access to their resources. So when it comes to what's going on in this part of the world, I think it's so important that we see the art that comes out of there that talks about their revolutionary spirit. And it really just, it mirrors so much about all these other revolutions that we have a profound respect for, you know, like the Cuban Revolution or the Bolshevik Revolution. If you guys can talk about like why Syria? Because this is one of the things that I think, because you guys could have went in a plethora of different places. Like, why in particular Syria? If I can start off with you, Kevin.
Oh, I thought you were going to start with him. I was so much more curious what he was going to say. Well, so I think it was a short list. I think him and I both agreed that like when I see people like a lot of things that Right Brain does, we do them out of the necessity that no one else is really doing them the way that we think they could be done, and we like to try things out. And usually, the more challenging the country, the more interesting I think, especially the ones we know the less about. Because when I do a curation, I believe that it should be what you give is what you're going to put out. So instead of just playing like 2 movies randomly back to back that at Wikipedia, it's like, you know, we spent like 100 hours when we did the Cube event at least just picking the movies. I mean, it was really this precise like a tasting menu thought that like they're going to go through a journey movie to movie and like how's that going to affect this movie to this movie, and it's supposed to be a sort of an arc to it, you know, so they come out the other side having changed in some way. I mean, if you play 2 movies back to back and you're going to really do a whole lot, they're going to be like, all right, thanks. Because you can do a lot of cool things, and we start thinking, man, there's this whole storytelling aspect of curation that people miss, and I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it. I thought it was just like getting popcorn and, you know, like inviting the people and just selling tickets, but it's like you can really tell a story about a country if you play your cards right and you put the path in a way that makes sense. With Cuba, it was like, but we always like to have like one film that really dictates from that. Like, you know, it would be one note if we just play a bunch of Cuba Revolution. We should also play like an 8-minute CIA movie made at the time, so you have something to compare it to, like, because there's a status quo you've established through all of Cuban movies. And the point I'm making is Syria just seemed like ripe. You know what I mean? It's a country, it checks all the boxes for Right Brain. It seems like there's a very terrible, improper understanding of what it is. It seems like our government really wants to overthrow it and not let it be sovereign. And I think it's something we haven't seen their movies. There's a reason for that. Ask yourself why Ukraine just won an award, whatever shitty movie about Navalny, but you've never seen a Syrian movie in your fucking life that's actually good. Why? I think why do you see Chinese films? I watched a show 2 years ago called The Bad Kids. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. Up there with Breaking Bad. Didn't even come to the US. Why? But I saw 20 terrible Japanese shows on Netflix that were so god awful. And Japan has great stuff. I'm just saying, like, they don't want us to watch Syrian cinema. They don't want us because these movies a lot of times are about revolutions. I mean, there was Cuban films where the short film was just them fighting off the US invaders in the Bay of Pigs. That's the movie. It's 8 minutes of them with machine guns and a camera fighting off US invaders. And it's called Death to the Invaders. They don't want us to see that shit. And so I think him and I both agreed that's exactly why it's probably right. It's like what, WWCD, if WWCD, yeah, if the CIA, what would CIA do? If the CIA likes it, it's probably terrible, right? If the CIA hates it, it's probably something you should look into in every scenario, right? The CIA is just a corporation. It used to be the Pinkertons. They were just detectives, spies, and scumbags who would kill strikers and do whatever corporations told them to do, and they were private, and they made so much money off oligarchs doing their dirty work. They became a fucking organization. They even got Hollywood doing their fucking PR. You know what I mean? We need to wake people up, show the other side. Go to show Vietnam films made by Ho Chi Minh and them in Vietnam with the U.S. on the other side of the lens, right? Like, and I started being like, wow, there's a lot of this shit. So when him and I were talking countries, I was like, I don't know anything about Syrian film. Let's go for it. Let's just fucking dive in. Whatever happens and it comes out of it is what it'll be. And I think we came to an understanding. He threw up the word aesthetics. I thought of resistance, and it's a good, like, I think I could team up with this guy. I'd love to do as many screenings as possible. You know, we want to team up with people like them, and what they're doing is incredible.
Yeah. Obviously, like out of all the countries that you could have highlighted, them, because I mean, there's a lot more famous countries that you could have done.
Yeah. So it's all about like what's relevant at the time and issues that I see happening like on the left that I want to address. I was seeing people, I was seeing like communists or whatever be like, oh, you shouldn't support Yemen. Yemen, they're like homophobic or something, so you shouldn't support them. And I'm like, yo, your country is bombing the hell out of Yemen right now, and you're fixing your lips to condemn Yemen. Like, who does that help? Whose side are you on? How can you call yourself like some sort of progressive or some sort of communist? It's complete like immaterial. It's completely ideologically driven. So where you go to like, I guess like more left on the political scale, you hear about Vietnam, you hear about Cuba. Even on a different scale, you might uplift China, you might uplift USSR, right? But that's all like an ideological marriage that people have to that project. And I respect that. I respect that for sure. But there's also a kind of resistance that's not rooted in that ideological premise, right? But it's still situated against U.S. imperialism, which is the main enemy of all the people of the world. So what I wanted to do is bring light to that situation. I don't see nobody talking about the fact that Syria is getting bombed by Israel right now, or that the fact that secret U.S. bases were found in Syria, right? Completely illegal by the UN laws. They were found there, but nobody fixed their lips to say anything. Nobody fixed their lips to condemn their own government. They only talk about overthrowing the Syrian government. And it's just like, it's just in alignment with the imperialist agenda. So I'm completely against, like, as far as I can push that resistance narrative, as far as I can within my power, help not bomb countries, like give someone a reason not to support overthrowing some other government, I'm going to do that. And right now, my ability is through movies and through organizing and through eduforms that we do as Revolutionary Education and Action League. That's what we want to do. I'm not interested in like being friends with everybody on the left or whatever because we're all just leftists and we should get along. No, we're different. You were talking about like overthrow Assad. You're talking about overthrow Maduro. Oh, you shouldn't support Iran. No. I don't got nothing to do with that. All I know is the people in my government are the ones responsible for all this terrible stuff. Like on a scale that is unimaginable, that Iran can imagine, that Maduro couldn't imagine. So it's up to us to provide that narrative and challenge the narrative of like the State Department. Hopefully that was clear and I wasn't rambling.
Not rambling at all.
No.
I mean,
So let me share the preview, the trailer for next week. This was wonderful. I cannot wait to share this.
can I just say he hasn't seen it because it just was done like 5 minutes before. I feel bad that he hasn't even seen it. So I hope you just trust me. I thought you would like it.
Yeah.
No, you're that dude. I already know it's gonna slap.
Yeah. Hang on. It's not. Okay, so do it. And not in here. Let me go to
while you're searching, everything you said, I mean, I think you nailed it. I think my whole philosophy is a unilateral. It's like this is the right brain philosophy. I don't live in Syria. I'll watch the films shot by people who live there to get my best understanding because I'm not going to read a government textbook, right? Or watch a government movie about Syria. But he's not my leader, right? I can only think about, like he said, my own leader who is committing war crimes and genocide and coups. And that's the anti-imperialist philosophy. I'm worried about these guys because that's where I live and they're doing horrible, unspeakable, evil things. And you can worry about that in your country because the Syrian revolution, the Arab Spring, was a co-opted. CIA's been in Syria like before the Assad family was in power, before the Ba'ath Party was in power. I mean, they've been there for a long time, decades. CIA. We were going to overthrow the government, and they backed out of it twice because they can. And when people were messaging me about Assad who were Syrian, who I don't know if they live there or they have family, I said, okay, so I'm not saying that your protesting initially wasn't legitimate. Your angst and anger at your leader is normal. It's in China. It's everywhere. But the CIA was like, here we go. We got a little social unrest. Time to bring the extremist groups in and fund them with weapons and use it to overthrow like the Maidan rebellion.
Yep, absolutely. I have it ready. Let's get into it.
والأخ رستم اللي كنا سوا بالأرض المحتلة نزلنا عملية داخل الأرض المحتلة فسألتهم كيف انتوا هون ما انتوا استشهدتوا كيف اجيتوا فقالوا لي احنا ما استشهدنا احنا بعد ما انتهت المعركة تخبينا وهلا وصلنا
نحن حامينه ذكرى الشهيد الله يرحمه. بلشت اعصب وبلشت اختنق انه بدها تطلع يعني بدي احكي بدي اقول انه اللي كتبته وليش الانقلاب على الاقل من اجل الديمقراطيه تطلع ما طلعت معي ما طلعت.
حياتنا وهذا قدرنا في هالحياة.
Wow.
Fire. Fire.
Thank you.
Wow. That is And guys, just let you guys know, I will be there in person at the event next Thursday. So for all of you that are watching, especially those of you who are in the Orange County, Orlando, Central Florida area, you guys need to come out to this event. If you are going to be joining virtually, let me share where you can go as well.
Oh, can I make a distinction? His is going to be at 7. Mine's going to be at 9. It's nothing. It's just we're virtual, so people on the West Coast can go. So if it's at 7, it's going to be 4 p.m. there. People are going to be work, but they should start it because it's hard to get spaces late at night. We've dealt with that in Philly. It's just hard to get a space until like 11 p.m. at night. So you have 2 options. If you're in Florida, or if you're in Orlando, or even in stone's throw away, you should go. But if you can't, if you're anywhere else and you get access to our site, you can watch it. We're going to try to figure out a way to maybe get into his discussion after. I'm not sure if we would kick off with that maybe. But if it can happen, we'll make it happen. I mean, that's the cool thing about not being a corporation. We can, we'll figure it out. But I'd love to connect. Like in Cuba, we connected at the end, all the spaces, which was cool through Zoom. So
definitely.
I know it's going to be good with you there. There's going to be a good discussion. I could just feel it.
For sure. There's so much to talk about. Wait, Jay, should I tell them about some details? Like it's going to be $5 at the door, right?
Okay.
And it's going to our mutual aid program, PFK. Just wanted to put that out there.
And we're donating all but 75%. We keep 25 to cover the virtual screening, but we're going to give half to them. And my friend Cal Walsh, who's an activist, has friends in Gaza right now trying to get out. So we're going to give the other half to them because they're doing great work. It's like, spreading it around. That's the move. So yeah, we just want to cover our expenses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's really the point. Let me share in the chat. Let me share on the screen here. So if you guys would like to get in touch with Real Orlando, here is their link tree. It's right there. You can get in touch with them through their Instagram. Yep. And so Instagram, you have the icon right here. So you guys can get in touch with them through Instagram. And then you can, and we can get the address so that people know exactly where to go, so that they can just come and just like Albizu said, $5 at the door, but that cover charge goes towards mutual aid. So that's the beautiful part about it. So we have that. And then if you guys would like to, you guys can also go to Right Brain.
Yeah, people always ask me this. You just click become a member. There's something that says box office. It's kind of empty right now, but it will have lots of screenings coming up. There's a lot of ideas we have. But for now, you'll see the tickets to the event. I don't even know if we have the full name when the tickets went live. We kind of I don't like to rush things. I think at first we were just calling it like Syria Rising, Syrian Revolution. We didn't have a name, and then he was saying aesthetics, and I think it just kind of came together. So I think it just kind of is just kind of organically filling out. But I think it's going to be really great. Like I said, I went in knowing nothing about Syria. With every collection we've ever done, we go in knowing nothing because I want to come out of it learning something. Even when I went to Detroit to do the Rome doc, I didn't know him at all. I preferred it that way. I didn't call him a lot beforehand. I wanted to go out there completely naked to it. And I think that's like how you approach this. And I think when I started digging into Syrian cinema, I found it was very interesting. There's a lot to chew on, but there's also a lot of strong ideals in it. And it's a great, I think, cultural echo of the country and its changes it's gone through. And I think he picked the films. I made a list. We had a way that really worked, but I want to say I'm so honored that they asked us because we do have meetings quite a bit, but it's usually like an artist or something. And there's nothing really concrete there. And I'd much rather get hit up by an organization like his. That's an honor to have someone doing that kind of work, who's doing that kind of good in the world, finding time and thinking of us, as opposed to like someone hitting me like, hey, can you make my movie? It's about something that's not that pressing right now with the genocide happening. It's like, no, we can't make it. You know what I mean? What the fuck? Why am I doing this? With him, seeing the work they were doing, it's like, man, somebody doing this kind of good work wants to work with us. Like, you know what I mean? So, and we just got along really well, man. I think I would do a screening with them every month. Like I said, I mean, just because I know they're doing something great with it,
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. And yeah, this is just the beginning for sure.
Yeah. So, what time is it going to be at in live here in Orlando, just for people so that they know what?
It's at 7. If you want to know where it's actually at, hit us up on our DMs.
Okay. All right. So hit them up in the DMs and on their Instagram page. In fact, let me go straight to the Instagram page just so that you guys have that too.
Yeah, what I'll probably do is put a link in my profile. You can put multiple, and it'll just say like Syria tickets. I mean, our starts at 9. If you live anywhere near him, go to his. I would go to his if I live nearby and leave you guys hanging. But if you can't go to his, then watch it virtually. Or if you have to go home early or whatever, like, or if you want to see, like, we're gonna probably I do little segments in between. I try to keep them short the best I can. But I just think some people who watch our stuff are not that politically savvy. They like the art film kind of stuff, that they don't see the anti-imperialist elements of some of that stuff yet, but they enjoy the aesthetics to them and the concepts behind them. So, we do give a little pretext. I'm just gonna play 3 Syrian films without telling you anything about them. And I'm sure at his event he'll be doing, something like that. You gotta lead people. You're not gonna deprogram someone just dumping 3 movies on someone's head with no context. And they're like, I don't even know anything about Syria. What's going on. So we try to do something like that. And so I think that it'll offer 2 different experiences, but coming together, you know what I mean? And yeah, it was fun narrowing them down. He picked ones that spoke to him, and I think it could have gone a million ways. I like the way it went.
Definitely. So I am so excited for this. I cannot wait to be there to associate with comrades so that we can basically, I don't know, for some reason I feel like one of the cool kids in the room, kind of,
You are the cool kid in the room. What are you talking about? You're hanging out with a bunch of nerds. You're the cool kid, and I'm so happy to get to hang out with the cool kid. You got backwards.
Yeah, it's awesome because I get to be part of this artistic expression that also pushes the revolutionary spirit. So it is a privilege to be among all of you for this too. So it's gonna be great. So Albizu, can you know what you have coming up next and where they can find you in your different things that you have coming up with Real Orlando?
So right now we're busy with a lot of stuff. Our main platform is the Real IG. We are constantly doing work with People's Free Kitchen that every Sunday we feed up to 100, maybe even more than that, of needy people all around Orlando. We also have the People's Freedom Farm that we just sowed in our new seeds for the spring, right? That feeds into the kitchen and into our mutual aid work. And we'd love that local community to come through and just feel like that's their garden. That's their farm. You know what I'm saying? That's there for them. We also have the struggle with the ordinance, understanding that Orlando, just like a bunch of other cities in America, are making it harder and harder to protest, and even just harder and harder to live. And they passed this really violent ordinance law, right? And we were struggling against that. We were taking notes on how they're moving and how that's affecting the people. What else? We also have a new zine coming out soon that we're gonna announce pretty soon. And as well as we're trying to do an Eduforum in May, and that'll have to do with the more of the resistance countries and going into depth with that. If you are interested in volunteering with us or even joining us, feel free. Again, hit us up on the DMs and we can get that started.
Amazing. Also, so what do you have coming up next, Kevin?
So we're on a break. We take a 5.5, 6 week break, and then we do another 5-month lineup just straight, and then we do another break. Right, so it makes a year. It's 5, break, on and off. So I'm on the break, but the break is just, instead of staying up for 38 hours on no sleep and doing all this stuff because we don't have any employees, I just stay up for 32 hours. But we get to smoke a lot of weed, and we get to think about what we want to do next because we always kind of have the tracks. We don't lay the tracks as we go. Soviet Horror was something we had designed a year before we did it. So it was we spent a year on it. So everything that people see is like that was like last, you know, say 12 months ago usually. So there's sort of but at a certain point, it caught up with us because the Palestine thing broke out, and we're like, we don't feel right doing this excited lineup with this shit going on. It just feels super trivial and gross. So we told people like not to sign up for the site, which, you know, our account was pissed about and wasn't great. But that's the reality. It's more important. It just is. And so now that I think that I mean, at a certain point we have to continue our mission. So we're going to take all the things we had planned and mix them with all the new stuff and just jam pack it. So we come back April 15th. And for the first time ever, you usually have a couple things drop a week. There's going to be 5 drops a week while we're running. So it's going to be like every day. It's like 2 phases of mixed together. So we got a new original series. We have a new comedy special we did with Jimmy Dore. I've seen the DMs. We don't care if you don't like them. It's a comedy special. We don't care if you don't like it. That's fine. It's comedy. You don't like it. People don't like Lenny Bruce. I don't really care. You don't have to watch it. The best part is you could just not watch it. There's so many things to watch on the site. But what I think is it's going to be powerful because I think comedy is a very powerful tool like film. And I think his comedy work, I think, does a great job of that. I saw a very mixed audience there, and it was really interesting. I also bumped into Jose Vega, which was also interesting. But anyway, so we have a comedy special, an original series. We'll be doing, like, I don't want to say what the lineup is, but it's sick. I mean, you know, I don't know. We're going to some really cool regions this time. There's going to be a lot of music, which we haven't been doing as much. And I'll be doing the weekly live streams. And I'm hunting for hosts right now because nobody wants to see me every fucking Wednesday, every day of the week. Let's get some other faces here, different, not to be like woke, but different ages, races, people, different experiences to watch movies with. You know, just watch movies with me all night. So I was doing them like all the time. So we're like looking for hosts. So if anybody sees this and thinks they could do a cool show, I mean, you know, let's talk. I mean, we'd love to screen movies and have different hosts, bring different experiences to the audience.
Awesome. I'm very excited for what's coming up in the near future. So thank you guys so much for coming in. And look, I'll see you on Wednesday, next Thursday. So it's going to be a fire time. And I cannot wait. It's going to be great. And then Kevin, we'll see each other virtually. It's going to be amazing. So it's going to be really fun. And if you guys have not, then come out to this event next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a great time to be able, and it's great. And one of the things I wanted to bring out was also, you don't realize how much of a community you have until you meet like-minded people around you that actually help uplift you. And so associating with people at the People's Free Kitchen, with Real Orlando, and with, you know, Kevin and Mark from Right Brain Studios, it has actually helped me in amazing ways to be able to feel like I have this community around me. So if you guys want to build community, this is the way to do it. This is the way to go about it.
Really quickly, Jay, something slipped my mind. Real is also part of the End to Genocide Coalition. So all the work that we do addressing our so-called representatives, low-key, they're representatives of Lockheed Martin. We mobilize against them. If you are interested, if you're, as you should be, indignant about like the whole thing about Palestine and in the Orlando area, hit up End to Genocide Coalition or hit us up to get more involved in that as well. Sorry, that slipped my mind.
Nah, it's all good. Thank you so very much. And thanks for coming. I'll be getting into something that happened to me recently. If you guys want to stick around, that you're very welcome to. I just want to be respectful of your time. But I have something I want to talk about to the audience too, if you guys want to stick around. But yeah. So just
I'm gonna just jump off.
Sure. So before I get into that, just want to make sure, if you guys have not, please make sure to give the stream a like. That pushes me out into the algorithm. Thank you so very much to everybody. Also, if you guys have not, you guys can also subscribe to jaybefaunt.substack.com so you guys are aware of and get email notifications whenever I go live, upload clips, or write any articles. With that being said, I also would like to say thank you so much to everyone who is a patron on Patreon, Coffee, as well as anyone who sends me anything through PayPal. For without you guys, I would not be able to do this work. This means the world to me. thank you so very much. And yes, my channel is still demonetized. I do not know when it's ever going to be monetized again. So if you guys like to support the channel, you can go support via Patreon or PayPal. So thank you so very much. Just so you guys know what is what, I'm going to share with you guys the Patreon page, just so that you guys know what you're getting into when you subscribe to my channel. You have JB members, Solidarity, Comrades, Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, and Mega Jaybefaunters. So thank you so much for that as well. Now, one of the things that I wanted to bring out, and then we'll get into the comments, is that there's something that happened to me yesterday. I was at dialysis, and my mother calls me on the phone, and she informs me that the property manager has said that the people who own the condo I live in, is the landlord is the association, the homeowners association of the condo community that I live in. They own it. They are wanting to sell the condo unit that I live in. And in this selling, they're giving me 60 days to vacate the premises. So, as somebody who is disabled on dialysis and has a mother that's in her 70s, this is, as you can imagine, something that has hit me like a ton of bricks. I was in tears because what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do? That's something that I'm still trying to figure out exactly what to do. Financially, we're in dire straits pretty much all the time because, you know, being disabled, disability doesn't give you enough. And so, looking for resources when it comes to housing, looking for resources as far as they're saying that the sale of the place is open to us, but like, who has money for a down payment? And then on top of that, you know, credit and all these different things. So it's like, where do we go? What do we do? And this is one of the reasons why, you know, we talk about what's going on in the world right now in regards to the system. The system says, well, you have to be paywalled from having housing, which I completely disagree with. And, you know, a lot of times people will look at me and say, well, you're on YouTube, so you should be making enough. And it's like, well, no, look at number one, look at the size of my channel. My channel's tiny. Number one. Number two, on top of it, things are expensive. Housing is expensive. And so when you're at the mercy of landlords, and if they want to sell, what do you do? And I've had people, trolls in the comments saying, well, it's your fault you didn't buy. It's your fault you couldn't afford the house. My thing is it's my fault that the system is exploitative. You know, so that's what's going on with me. And on top of it, I am working towards getting a kidney transplant. So this may put that on hold. Me pursuing a kidney transplant. On top of my mom not only being elderly, but also having a lot of health problems. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up what's going on with me in my life. It's tough.
If there's anything I can do to help, if there's anything I can do to help you that's in my power, I will do it. And I mean, that's off air, but I mean, really, anything I can do, I will do. Even if it makes my life tougher, I will do what I can to help. I mean, I think It's terrifying because you were born with a health issue that is often not even of our own making, even if it was, though. But even so, it's sort of could have happened to anybody, and it makes life, which is already impossible for most people, just so much harder. I don't think people conceive of it, and it's expensive and it's harrowing, and to put that on top of somebody, and I mean, it's horrifying. I mean, if we had good health care, you know what I mean? Like the people who tell you to go just get a job, like they understand that the system is designed to break you down, and you medical debt's one of the main reasons people lose everything, and you're dealing with a major disease. I think it's horrifying that's happening to you. I feel terrible. I wish there was more I could do, but I will do anything that I can do.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel bad with anything. That's fucking terrible. It's horrifying. I mean, I just can't believe it. It's happening all over the country. I mean, people I know have never been doing worse. I mean, truly, it's been a long time since I've seen people in this much dire shape. I have friends taking any job they can get. They spend 60 grand a college degree and they think about going to get a job at McDonald's. You know what I mean? I'm sure the system loves that. Yeah, I think it's horrible, JB. I'm so sorry to hear that. I mean, it's impossible to get a house. 70% of homes are in right now by people whose parents bought them for them. There's no way you were going to be able to buy that house. I mean, I know people that had 20 grand in the bank couldn't even rent an apartment. You used to be able to get an apartment with like 1,500 in the bank and I don't know, like some fairly vague employment papers. When I was growing up and I went out on my own at 18, you can get an apartment like that, an 18-year-old. Now, my friend, I'm not going to say who went out, and he couldn't even get it with 20 grand in the bank. They returned him down on shitty $900 apartments. I was like, what? That's crazy. I mean, it's really completely even hard just to get an apartment nowadays that's affordable, let alone buy something. I mean, it's really unfortunate. The medical debt thing, like I just can't imagine. I mean, diabetes it requires a lot, you know, and you shouldn't have to pay for that. People shouldn't have to smuggle in from Canada. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. And so, as far as, how we're feeling, unfortunately, it stressed out my mom to the point where she started feeling tightness in her chest, and, just trying to keep her as chill as possible during this ordeal. That is in itself, a job. And I'm, and then on top of it, one of the things that I'm looking at right now is like we are going to need a place to live in 60 days. Unfortunately, you need first month deposit, last month. And a lot of people don't realize moving is expensive, especially when you live in the same place for 10 years. By the way, and people will say, well, how is this legal? Unfortunately, I'm just going to lay out the cards on the table. They never renewed our lease. We kept asking for a renewal. They kept their mouth shut, never gave us a lease renewal. So we've been on month to month for 8 months. We've been on month to month. And because of that, by law, they're free and clear. So unfortunately, I can't, there's nothing that I can do. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is either I wish we had enough money for a down payment to buy it, but that's not going to happen. I mean, 20% down is thousands upon thousands of dollars, I mean, I'm going to look into it, but I don't, I'm doubtful about that. But the next best option is being able to get another apartment, but we're going to need assistance when it comes to deposit, getting a moving truck, a U-Haul. It takes time to be able, going to have to see about getting some friends to come together locally to help us move, because that's going to be difficult. And then on top of it, also transferring utilities, things like that. And that's what makes it tough. And then on top of it, getting a place, not too far from here, what I pay is actually cheaper than everywhere else. So now the rent that I'm currently paying, which we're struggling with, that's going to go up. So it's just like you can't win for losing in this system. So, and then on top of it, we live in Florida. So the renters and the tenants' rights are not as good as it would be in other states. Because this is a state that is owned and ran by real estate developers and landlords. They're the ones who hold the politicians by the throat.
There was this guy, Mal, who said some really great things about what we should do to landlords, but that's another story. But yeah, I think I subscribe to that. Landlords, and it's amazing. You go to Kensington, Philadelphia, it's like, I mean, I know people that have ended up there that 2 years ago had like a good job, and you were like, wow, they got it together. And then they're on Kensington Avenue waving people down for Percocets. I mean, I'm not saying it's the same situation. I'm saying is the homeless crisis is out of control down there. And actually, I don't think everybody goes there necessarily even with drugs in mind. I think some people, it's just like, it's the place to live in the city if you're homeless. That's where you go. I mean, there's really everything else. You're not gonna be able to get away with it. You're like, you do see one person sometimes, but it's become a tent city overnight. Many of them are, of course, suffering. I've heard of people getting injured on the workforce, being, and just things becoming insurmountable, and they end up going, well, here's a place I can go without getting arrested by the police, and there's already tents here, so I guess it's okay. And I've never seen it worse. And the worst part is you see people on TikTok complaining about it. They're like, I came to Philadelphia to go to Drexel University, and I have to walk and see this shit on the ground. It's terrifying. People think that way about other humans, Like they're laying on the ground. They might freeze to death tonight. Yeah, but they're in my way. It's an eyesore. It's gross. Like they don't even look at the person who's doing it. It's like, this is horrible. It'd be like if you saw a corpse on the ground and you blame the corpse instead of the murderer. It's like, what are you doing here, laying on the ground, dead and murdered and bleeding? What were you thinking? It's like the system or the institution you go to school at. Those people who bulldoze the hospitals, people who run there's a small sect of people that control every city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, JB. I'm just glad that there's somebody here. And maybe that makes it harder, but I think it's a prime example of the very stuff you talk about. I think a lot of people have shows and speak from a distance, like the Vanguard, whoever. It's like speaking from a distance. They don't really. I think that's what makes your show so important. Is you have a real perspective. Talk about the system. You're an example of what it's doing from every angle.
Yeah. Which
is why we need to preserve it. We need to do a fucking telethon, dude. We need to get like Rome on there doing some of his classic hip hop songs he told me he used to make with all night long, like where they have the phones and everything, and everyone donates a little bit, and we get JB at home so he can keep making great work. I mean, if you do something like that, we'd definitely be a part of it. Old school telethon, all nighter.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's just it's like it puts into question if I'll be able to keep this channel, because it's just, this is something that, this is my baby, but it's like, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, with the way things are going. So I put my Cash App and my Venmo in the chat if you guys like to contribute. Anything helps, or if you guys just want to share. I'll be sharing what's going on Facebook and Instagram soon. I already shared on Twitter. I'll be sharing this information too. If you guys want my PayPal, that's linked in the description. Or if you guys want to become a Patreon, that helps too. Or just your kind words helps, in the comments. That's enough. That helps me so much.
Something we can do, JB, is I will declare right now, forget the 25% for the Syria event. We will donate. We'll split the money. We'll give the money we were already going to give. No. We don't. We would like to give that to your Cash App at the very least, dude. I mean, if anybody's going to donate money to the event, it's not going to go in our pocket. I think that I'd be happy.
No, because you guys have your operations to keep up, to keep everything going. The people are, helping me out so far. I appreciate that, but you guys make sure that it goes to right brain for them to keep themselves, you know, at least even. So yeah.
Yes, give it to
but-
right. Give it to right brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. Give it to right brain.
You're too kind, Kevin.
No, I feel the same way you do, though. We need to keep you going too. I think if anything, especially because you engage 3 times a week sometime. I mean, that's like constant. Like that's a very important part of this whole process of deprogramming. You're someone that's with people year round. You know, like we stay away from the camera when we can. We're just putting stuff up to watch. I think we got to keep it alive, dude. Like I said, we should try to organize something. We could do something cool. We can get inventive with it. And I think as a community, from online to offline, we should at least be able to help. And I would be happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. So yeah, that's let you guys know what's going on with me in my life. When I talk about housing, I talk about it so ferociously because I'm literally living it. And that's why I talk about it as much as I possibly can, because if I'm going through this, that means there's a lot of you that are going through this. And I hate seeing other people go through this too. So yes, but yeah, so you guys are up to speed on what I'm going through, and you know, I wanted to, you know, fill you guys in on what's going on. So, and also if any of you are, you know any legal aid, any attorneys or anything like that hears this and says, something doesn't sound right, then if you guys can refer them to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no money, so it would have to be pro bono. But if you guys know anybody who is an attorney, as a lawyer, that also can assist in this and tell me, even if they just tell me, hey, legally there is absolutely nothing that we could do, you know, that's fine. At least I know that, you know. So thank you so very much to everybody. Thank you so much to the kindness of everybody watching. Thank you, you know, to you, Kevin. I filled in Albizu a little bit before the stream. Thank you to him as well. It means a lot. So yeah, and also a big shout out and thank you to Nick and CJ and Rome and Sabby, you know, for you guys, you know, at RBN trying to assist me in this and being behind me, because yeah, it's going through a lot. And also a big shout out and thank you to all the comrades at Orlando RBN Mutual Aid Chapter. You guys are the sweetest, you guys are the kindest, and you guys are the real ones too, especially Kevin, Katie, Lance, Sabiha, and you know, Tim. Thank you guys so much. You know, and Katie says, even if you're a person who can't fathom the idea of commodifying everything, you can't deny it's absolutely evil to make housing, shelter, commodity, and not a right. Agreed. Thank you so much. Oh man, thank you so much. They Live, We Sleep. It means a lot. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. So yeah, but with that, I'm gonna head out. I didn't eat today, so I gotta eat something. And Sorry, guys. Yeah, my internet went out. When it rains, it pours. So yeah, thank you so much to everybody that's helping out. Appreciate it very much. You guys have yourself a good one. And please take care of yourselves. And look, be as kind as you can to other people. You never know what they're going through. Sometimes people are quiet about what's going on in their lives, and you just don't know. A kind word, a smile, just acknowledging someone really does help. So please continue to do that, and just be there for your fellow neighbors. Water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Love them if you got them. And if you got them, I mean, love people, love your world, and just try to be as good to other people as you possibly can. Learn about what's going on in other countries. Use your art to push a revolutionary spirit forward so that we can have something better than what we have now. Because ultimately, we're all going through it. And it is up to us to use our powers, even artistically, to help each other out. Mwah! Forehead kisses, every single one of you. You guys have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.